Hey everybody, here we are. We are back, and this is I don't know, the card of the week. No, doesn't resonate with you. um yeah, so okay, let's just get like the business stuff out of the way. I
Yep.
mentioned a little bit last week about really kind of just changing the packaging of the show. So we're still working on that. It's going to be the same. We're probably still going to live stream, or if not, we will still make sure it's uploaded and available the same time every week.
Yeah.
And we just really want to focus on things that help bring more light into the world. So we've
Yeah.
been having a conversation about like entrepreneurship, and we put in the description of this week's conversation to talk about coincidence and, you can't make this up. We're going to get to all of that today. But we started out with this conversation, backstage that I think is really important, will be helpful for a lot of people. So we got up to 81 subscribers. That means we need only 19 to get up
19.
to the 100 we're looking for. I mean, 19, that's totally doable, folks.
Right.
Like,
Ask yourself, are you
ask
one of those 19?
if you wouldn't mind, run over and hit that subscribe button.
And
Look
then
at
call
that,
your
subscribe.
mom and have
And
your
ask
mom
her.
subscribe.
Right. So anyway, uh, what led us to this conversation we were having was we were talking about wins. What was a
Yep.
win this week?
What's your win this week?
What's your win this week? So, I've had a lot of wins this week. I mean, there's a lot of energy moving and a lot of energy shifting. I told you I've been studying with Dougal Fraser, but one of the biggest wins is this program I'm working on using the ZXUH method, which is visualize, align, surrender, packaging it in a way that I can deliver it to groups and maybe in some sort of either a member, not a membership method, not a membership platform, but like online course platform type of
Yes.
situation.
Oh, yes. Love it.
Um, and I'm taking 5 people through the process as what I call a case study, which I cannot recommend highly enough if you are an online entrepreneur or a spiritual entrepreneur and you've got an idea and you're not sure if it'll fly, do this. Find 3 or 4 people, but you've got to ask them up front, are you willing to do the work? Are you willing to,
Right.
check in, and all of
Yep.
that? And
Participate fully.
fully. And the truth is, a lot of times, people agree to participate fully and then they march to their own drummer anyway, which is also okay because that's great experience for you to learn how to handle,
Right.
right? But I have to tell you that all of these people are coming back to me and saying things are changing. So
Hmm.
I'm not going to tell anyone who I'm working with right now. Um, and maybe in the future on the show, the people that I've worked with might want to come on and
Oh, that's a good idea.
we'll have a conversation with them about what they're doing and the things that they're creating because they're all out there doing some pretty exciting stuff. But um, I think for me right now, that is my biggest win is that I am having identifiable impact on the lives of others, and those others are out there in some way, shape, or form spreading the light because that's
Awesome.
just
Oh,
so
wow.
important,
That
right?
that's the best news you could possibly give.
Right?
Yep.
Like
Yep.
that's what it takes.
Your reach has been multiplied by helping others with their reach. Yep.
Yeah.
That's what we want to do.
And I love that that's one of my favorite sayings. May your reach exceed your grasp.
Oh, wow. I hadn't
I,
heard that
I,
before, Ange. That's
oh, I don't
cool.
know where that one came from, but I love it so much.
I do
May
too.
your
Wow.
reach exceed your grasp.
Yep. I heard a good quote today. This is a friend of mine. We were having a chat, and she said, here's my favorite thing to think about right now. She says, may you be, may the exciting thing that you, most exciting person you meet be your future self.
Ooh.
And I was like, in fact, yeah,
Ooh.
it's something like, may you do what you need to do to make the most exciting person you meet be your future self. And to me, that's like that just gives me like inspiration to write like do it, do it real.
Wow.
It makes me want to
Right?
be a better person.
Right? I mean, and it's, you know, uh, that concept itself. So we have so many things we want to talk about today, but this one here actually fits into the you can't make this up
Yeah.
because uh i- that interacting with your future self is a concept that has come up for me in the last couple of months through things that I'm studying, and it's
Mm.
literally something I'm working on.
Oh,
Like
cool.
remembering to say, if I do this, how will it be for my future self? If I take
Wow.
this action, what impact will, like,
Yep.
I
Yep.
mean, and you can apply that to, how we've been talking about exercise and,
Yeah.
of course, already it's April, so all that's gone out of the wind with the January, right? But it, if I eat this cupcake, how will my future self feel? If I
It's
eat,
almost like a daily mantra.
I mean it, right? Like,
Yep.
so, ooh, yeah, I just saw a really good place to put that. Um, More on that later.
Bathroom mirror.
So, yeah, so, okay, so that's a great quote. And did you have a win this week?
Yeah. So um one was in the kind of the client space. Um I've been like bombarded is not the quite word, not quite the right word, but um gratefully gratefully receiving numerous client and prospect requests this week. Um, I had a guy just we talked about a year ago and it wasn't quite the right timing, and just out of the blue he emails me again. And he says, "All right, I'm ready to get started." And I'm like, "Okay then." And I got a quote for. I mean, I got one of the people I work with on the techie side sent over a, hey, can you quote this, software? And it's like a big project, and so if that goes through, that's a big chunk of time and a big chunk of money. And so it just, and then on the spiritual side, a number of people have said, I want to work with you, can you help me do this, can you help me do that? I'm like, and what I'm starting to see is my focus is getting clearer as to what I want to do, and what I want to help people with by putting it out there.
So, kudos, right? And if you are just starting to listen, or you don't listen every week, I would really encourage you, because I'm going to point something out here, to go back and listen to last week's show where we were talking with Valerie Wood, because the things that came to you, the thoughts that you shifted, the energy that you moved while we were having that conversation last week,
Mm-hmm.
the work that you did around that
Mm-hmm.
is directly responsible for what has showed up for you now.
I can't agree more. I mean, it's just so clear when you embrace spirit and gratitude, and you put your intention out there, visualize, align, surrender.
And boundaries and
And
boundaries, right?
yep. But point
And
is, when
boundaries were important for you, remember?
that's true, that's true. And one of the things that's come up a couple of weeks is, John, you don't value yourself as much as, the reason things are hard is because you don't value your own self.
Right.
And I'm
Right.
like, okay, let's fix that.
Right. I mean, because remember, the first thing out of my mouth was you need to cut off those people that don't want to pay you.
Right, right. Another
Because,
conversation I had is, why are you discounting every quote?
yeah, right. And then you heard my end of that story where my tax preparers wanted me nowhere near the close of the client because
Yep.
I looked at it and went, oh, and then I would discount it and they'd be like, "Why did you do that?"
Right. You
So
took away my
so
salary.
exactly. So if you are struggling with this kind of thing, that was a really great episode. That'd be really great for you to go back and I mean the listener to go back and
Well,
listen
actually,
to.
I think I will too because there's so much good stuff in that one.
Yeah, there was a lot of good stuff in there. And oh yeah, right. Probably be a really good idea to get a transcript of that show, and I'm going to leave it at that for now. Um, think
I'll do
about
it.
that for a second.
I'll
Yeah.
do it.
But it's all so this actually goes to the kind of topic that we picked for this week too. You can't make this stuff up. So, and remember how we said when you start operating on an energetic level, you need to keep doing it that way, right?
Right. Don't stop.
Don't stop. And so this is all about limiting beliefs and self-worth and neutral state, and I mean literally visualize, align, surrender, like all of these things. And you did all that, and look what's happened. I mean, that's amazing.
It is truly amazing. Yep. I'm just so grateful for you, Angie,
Oh,
and for Val last week, and just kind of like it was kind of like, go John, go, and I'm like, okay, I'm going, and it's working.
I mean, isn't that something uh how that works out? And
Yep.
I mean, I have to say, and I've said this before. I mean, we thought whatever we thought when we decided to do this show. And it quickly became obvious that it was an important part of my week,
Mm-hmm.
regardless of how many people actually listen.
Right.
Which is not to say we don't want listeners and that we don't want subscribers. But I think the importance of it is that the information we are sharing and communicating, with one another is valuable to the planet, and
Mm-hmm.
it contributes to the frequency of the planet,
That's interesting.
no matter what happens, no matter who actually
Right.
listens.
Just
You
by
know,
doing the show, we're sending out the energy.
exactly right.
How
Exactly
cool is
right.
that?
Yeah, I mean, and if you have any question about whether or not video can hold energy, go back and watch some of the energy sessions I've done on video.
Those consistently get our best viewership. I mean, just the numbers on those are just
Yeah, but I mean, you can go back and listen to it, and the
yeah.
energy is still there.
Yep.
It's still
Yep.
present. It's still uh I don't know, whatever the word is. I guess
It
that's
still
the power
contains
of
the energy.
intention, right?
Yep.
I mean, it's just amazing. So, this is what I'm seeing a lot out there, and I think maybe you can relate to this. And you know, you and I both kind of have one foot in the woo woo world and one foot in the tech world, or
Yep.
I mean, considering what it takes for me to be able to do what I do technologically, I consider myself to be in the tech world.
Yep.
I
I would
mean,
agree. It's
it's
numbers. It's
yeah,
all in
and
it.
it's I mean, without the technology, I'm nowhere,
Right.
I mean, I've got the setup, I've got the screen over here, and I'm working over here, Um, but there it went. I hate when that happens. It's
Well,
just
while
so
you're thinking of it, reminds me of a
I'll
quote
come
I
back
heard
on that.
recently. There's a big business guru. I can't remember who it was, but he said every company is a technology or soon will be.
Oh, isn't that Cuban?
Maybe. Yep.
I think that might be Cuban. Although Cuban, my very, very favorite quote ever, and it's in regard to business, is from Mark Cuban.
Okay.
And it's a Shark Tank quote, but it applies, because it one of the things that would be really helpful in this world is if everybody would stop with the competition mindset.
Mm-hmm.
We're not in competition. So for example, I know of a lot of card readers or energy workers that would go and work in shops, and then they would decide no, they don't want to work in a shop because they don't want to pay the percentage. or they don't
Yep.
want to deal with this because they don't want to pay the percentage. And the Cuban said, well, and this is mostly about making a deal with a shark, but would you rather have 70% of a watermelon or 100% of a grape? Right? Like, I mean, it's just so,
That's cute.
it just
Yeah,
puts it
that's
right
very
into
cute.
perspective,
Yeah,
right? Like,
absolutely.
um, it's it's a crazy idea. I mean, I don't know why competition came up, but maybe it's important for people who are out there trying to become entrepreneurs, figuring out, what to do. Um, I was a site selector for Liberty Tax.
Oh,
So
cool.
I went around the country and I evaluated locations and gave them a grade.
Mhm.
Um, and one of the things that raised the grade was the proximity, the closeness to the other one with the green square, HRB, right? The closer it was, the higher the score.
How funny.
And everybody would say, well, what? No, why would you want to do that? But think about this. Wherever you see a McDonald's, what else do you see?
A Burger
Burger
King
King.
and a Wendy's. Yep.
I mean, always. And the truth is, Kroc bought all that real estate. And I think the Burger King's even rent from Kroc's real estate company, Ray Kroc's
Oh,
real
wow.
estate
I didn't know
company.
that.
Ray Kroc bought more than McDonald's. Ray Kroc was a real estate mogul
Huh.
because he bought all the land that the McDonald's was on, right?
Oh,
But
interesting.
but the idea is there's enough people out there for all of us.
Yeah.
Pepsi and Coke, they're both still around.
Yep.
One didn't put the other one down because there's people that like Pepsi, there's people that like Coke, like
Mhm.
no one of us is the be all end all for everyone. I mean,
Yep.
it just isn't. Now,
Yeah.
some,
On that note, one thing that I remember in one of my business classes, um, when people said, "Oh, I'm creating a course, but there's already a course out there for what I'm doing," and
great,
the business guy says, "Listen, when someone's interested in something, what are they going to do? They're going to go on Amazon and buy one book? No, two, three, four, five books, and then they're going to look for a course. They're going to get one course? No, two courses, three courses. When they're like on the trail of a particular hobby or interest or obsession, they're just, they're all in. And the fact that you have a course very similar to someone else's course or the same topic, that's a good thing."
right? I mean, if you really look at it, if you just a very good example is go on Udemy, right?
Right.
Go on Udemy and type in Reiki. 500 classes on Reiki.
Yep.
Like how you can actually become a Reiki master on Udemy is beyond me, but whatever.
Right.
But anyway, okay, so let's wrap up the entrepreneurship side of the conversation just by
One
saying,
funny thing to ponder. If we can bring that in here.
yeah, I'd like to do the ponder. That's where I
Okay.
was going. So
Okay. Well, the ponder kind of loops in a little bit with the entrepreneurship. You'll hear why.
excellent.
So I bought a course a while ago, and it's been sitting, waiting for me to watch it. And so I decided, I'm going to get this out and start going through this course. And it's kind of a spiritual entrepreneurship course. And the course creator's name is Mark Allen. And so he's giving his kind of money manifestation method in this course, and I'm really digging it, and I'm liking it quite a bit. But we're getting to a chapter, and he says, "Okay, now I'm going to give you my secrets to really doing well in this world." And he says, "Okay, I'm going to show you how I figured out how to start a business." I was like, I already did that. But his point was, if you really want to spread your light, shed light and share your message, the best way to do that is to own your own entity. And I get that. Now, what he's doing that I wasn't really familiar with was his way of creating his what do you call them, affirmations. So he's got a really good way of creating affirmations. He also talks a lot about thinking. He has this game that he would play with friends, like, all right, think 5 years into the future and everything has worked out exactly the way you hoped it would. What does your life look like? And they all talk about it. And he said that game actually became part of my method, and it works. So I'm like, you know what? I should do that. So
Yeah, so I see all of that. I see some flaws in
mhm,
it. But I see all of it. One is not everybody's cut out to be their own entity.
good point.
They're just not.
Yep, good point.
Hence the 70% of a watermelon, 100% of a
Yep.
grape conversation, right? So for the people and this is a really great way to drive home the point that there is no one thing that is 100% of everything to everyone, right?
Yep.
That's great for you. You definitely can do this, but it's very similar to the conversation we had about the person who I said says there's no such thing as can't. Yeah, there actually is. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
for that person, there isn't. Really, there isn't.
Right.
But so there's that. So the other thing is that you're talking about going and interacting with your future self, right?
Yeah. Yep.
There is no flaw there because looking at what you're going, what does it bring to you for the future self? And then sitting in that is brilliant because you may find out, and I'm sure that everybody, leave it to Angie to bring it back down to earth, which one I love to be in the ether so much. You may very well find out that what you think you want is not what you want at all.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's back to the conversation about, I'd like to win the lottery, the big lottery, 650 million or whatever. And then when people do that, they get rid of it as fast as they possibly can because they can't handle it.
Right.
Yep. It is so, in my conversation about how I got kind of shot down for saying, well, I don't really know that I need to make millions.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, cancel, clear, delete.
Right. Yep.
But I think millions is. Could I handle it? Yes.
Yep.
I have the smarts.
Right.
I
Do
have
you need
definitely.
it?
I have the smarts.
Yep.
Would I like to have even more to contribute to a legacy for my kids? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But would it bring me joy to work as hard as it might take to make that much money? Mm-mm.
Right.
It just
the idea is with ease and with freedom. That's
right. Exactly.
Yep.
Because remember what happens if you create obligation for yourself. You deny yourself freedom. I mean, there's just no ifs because obligation is the polarity of freedom. So
100% with you. In fact, Mark Allen's mantras always say something along the lines of with freedom and ease and for my best for my best self, da 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 da. And he says, actually, you know what? I'm kind of lazy, and I like being that way. Lazy. He's saying it, fun. It's funny. I know
what he means.
Yeah, but not having. He says, I am not a Type A personality. I'm a Z.
I'm a Z.
I am too.
I'm really a Z. I've been a Z twice already in my life. But yeah, no, see, I mean, that's it. Like,
yep.
That's
so the converse, this is the course I'm taking with him, it's really resonating with me a lot. And again, it aligns so much with what we've talked about here. So,
and it's, I mean, and that's the thing. That's why there's plenty for everyone.
Mm-hmm.
There's nothing new under the sun. The information is all the same. It's just packaged differently by different people, right? Like we've had that conversation with Val many times.
Yeah.
It's all the same, but it's different just in the delivery. And the delivery is what makes it work for some people's filter, for some people's filter and not others. That's all. It's, it's just like the kid that can do his math and show his work and the other kid that the numbers walk around in his head and he gets the right answer, but the teachers get all upset because
he didn't show his work.
Can't show his work because It doesn't make any damn sense. But anyway, okay. So the other thing we were going to talk about, and we've already referenced it a few times, is you can't make this stuff up, coincidence. So I referenced Gibbs rule 39. There is no such thing as coincidence. What do you think about that? I mean, coincidence. I feel like if you lead an energetically aligned life, I think the answer to that question is that's correct. There is no coincidence.
Right. You know that every amazing thing that happens has been orchestrated by the other side, or for your highest good,
and through your own aligned action in one way or another.
Yeah. One I remember one quote. I forgot who it's by, but the speaker says, "Now, on the flip side of that is, how can we make sure we're not seeing, deep meaning in every cup of tea?"
Yeah, right.
And I think there's a point whereby you could take, signs. You could go overboard looking for signs.
Oh my gosh, yes.
So,
yes.
But that's kind of an aside. I do agree.
No, I agree with you, and I think that might be part of it because one of the things, and when if you ever work with Val, one of the things that she tells you, and I tell my clients too all the time, you have to be discerning. You have to pay attention, right?
Okay.
So
Oh,
on one hand, we're
that's a good way
telling
to say
you,
it.
right? On one hand, we're telling you watch for signs or pay attention to things, and on the other hand, we're telling you sometimes a rock is just a rock, right? so there is
Yeah.
a balance there that has to happen, but I think what happens is when you begin to take aligned action, right?
Mhm.
And I'm just going to put it in context of the ZXUH method because it just makes sense to me. Visualize, figure out what you want, right? Create a picture of what you want. Align, take action. Take the action it will require to make that visualization, a
Yep.
reality.
Yep.
And then surrender, step back and let the magic do its thing, basically.
Right.
Trust the universe, right? So if that's the case, you start taking aligned action. What did you say before that? Because it got lost again. God, what's wrong with me? Rewind. Once you start taking a lot. Oh God, what did you say right before that?
Now I'm.
Stop it, Angie.
Now I'm.
Oh
now
no,
I've
you
lost it
too?
too.
Great. Okay, well, see, we're real folks because AI don't do this, right? But basically, the point is, and maybe this will help bring it home for you, is I think that once you start taking aligned action, things just can't help but go your way, right?
Right.
But
we were. I remember now. We were talking about coincidence and reading too much into too many signs, but no, being discerning and paying attention to what are the real signs.
Okay, and taking aligned action means you're taking responsibility for yourself, right?
Yep.
Things are happening because of actions you're taking. Where people who are overly focused now, and I'm not saying that you shouldn't look for signs because I believe you should, but people who are overly focused on the signs are waiting for things to happen to them instead of in response to what they're putting out there, right? For example, a person who twice a day, every day, like clockwork for months, posts 11/11 on Facebook because they've seen 11/11, right?
Right.
And what does it mean? What does it mean? What does it mean? I think by now it means you look at the clock the same time every day, right?
Yeah.
Because you're waiting for something to happen to you. Okay, it's like that woman who said that I was a sponge for negative energy, right? She was not. She was right. She was correct. It was the truth. But if I would have just sat back and looked for, ways around it, I would still probably be feeling the same way. I went out and I said, "Oh no, hell no, this is not what I want. Let me figure it out."
Oh, cool.
and that's what set
It's
me on this whole
inspiration.
path in the first right?
Yeah.
So
Yep.
if
Well,
you
I was going to say I have a couple of coincidences that have just popped in my mind that I thought would be interesting to put out there. A few years ago, I this is early on my spiritual journey. I remember waking up, just like being woken up in the middle of the night by something, and I looked at my clock and it was 2:34. Like, oh, that's interesting. Go back to sleep. The next night, I woke up and it was 3:24. And
okay,
then the next night I woke up and it was like oh, and it was 4:32. And I'm like, okay, all right, what's going on here?
yeah, right,
And I asked a friend of mine who's a psychic, and she said, Spirit just wants your attention. What you need to do is say, I'm listening. What do you need to show me?
right.
And that was kind of like the that was one of the pushes that I got to really stay in tune with and then listen.
And this is something that some advice I was given a long time ago by a psychic. And right in the vein of what you're talking about, spirit is trying to get your attention. So the conversation then becomes, okay, I'm listening. What would you like me to know? And by the way, please make it easy for me to spot in the physical world,
Mm-hmm. Good.
right?
Good.
Because that's another thing. A lot of, what are you waiting for? How are you waiting for it to show up? Make it easy for me to spot. Maybe it's, remember, like I told you, the Druid license plates were I was shown for I don't know how long, and then it went away when I finally made a connection.
Mm-hmm.
Um, those kind of things do happen. So make it easy. Like have it show up on billboards and on the side of a truck or maybe a bus, or if you really have this conversation with the angels and with spirit, whatever word you want to use for that. I think that can really happen, but you have to pay attention.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Yeah.
I think it's so cool though. I mean, it's it's like those things where I was listening to a Dougal Fraser video. He was pulling cards, and it was a specific thing, like. And so I just happened to have the same deck. So I thought, oh, let me pull cards along with him. And son of a gun, if I didn't pull the same two cards that he did. Like,
Oh,
okay, this message is for you. And by the
that's
way, we're going to
so
make really
cool.
sure you know that this message is for you. Because not only is he telling you, but you're getting it in front of you yourself. So,
Okay, that's my favorite coincidence story ever, Angie.
I mean, it's, um, and there's that thing, right? That thing. So does energy have consciousness? Is there someone conscious actually calculating these things for you, or is it
Mm-hmm.
energetic in nature? In other words, the frequency matches up, and there it is.
Yep.
I want to say it's a little of all of that. I mean,
Yeah.
I've
Yeah. We
had
don't
too
know
many
100%.
right? Well, I've
Yeah.
had too many conversations with Archangel Michael to think that there aren't there are not consciousnesses. There aren't other conscious folks on the other
Oh,
side. I
sure.
believe there's
Yep.
consciousness over there,
Yep.
right? So, um, and then there's the loved ones that can affect the energy. I mean, that can happen too.
Mm-hmm.
The cards themselves, I used to think, oh, they're just paper and ink, and it
There's something
wasn't.
more. There's something
Yeah,
more
that
to
was
it.
totally because, and let me tell you, you remember Ridley Valentine had that person he wrote cards.
I do.
He
His
wrote
his
the deck. That person's name was on the deck. He wrote the deck.
right.
There's no ifs, ands, or buts. He wrote the deck. And I was like, who cares? It's paper and ink.
Right.
I had the old ones. I had the original ones. Who cares? Paper and ink. What's the difference?
Yep.
And it was not until, and I am an energy master, right? So I am energetically sensitive. I can feel the energy. But it wasn't until I had those two decks side by side, one with her name and one without, that I was like, oh, well,
Huge.
all right then.
Yep.
It is a big difference.
Yeah. Interesting.
So, I mean, there's that thing like about intention. When we have conversations about the companies I don't like or the
Yeah,
places I won't go,
right.
and it's because of the intention of the company itself, and that, or books I picked up that I can feel the yuck,
Yeah, right.
you
Or
know?
they're all about fear.
Right. And so, I mean, that name is attached to that particular box of cards.
Hmm. Yep.
And that person now thinks those cards are evil, basically.
Right.
Maybe that is going to shift their energy,
I,
right? So,
I wonder. Yeah. Yeah. It's
and don't you just really, really want to believe in the magic of it all?
hmm
Wouldn't it be so disappointing to find out that you are born, you live, you die, that's it, the end? I mean, wouldn't that just be so disappointing?
And I would have to say that all the evidence that you and I are seeing firsthand and meeting people who have seen it firsthand is pointing completely the other direction.
I
Right?
agree with you 100%.
Um,
100%.
yeah. The ones who say, you're born, you live, you die, are having to discount evidence in order to say that.
I agree with you. I agree with you.
It
And
reminds me of a funny story. There's a guy that I used to work with. He used to be a client, and we became friends. He was an older guy, and he passed away this past year. And so I had a session with Val, and I said, Val, um, can you connect with Gordon and just see how he's doing? And she said, yep, he's right here. He wants to talk to you. And so I said, and he was an avowed atheist.
that had to be a heck of a conversation.
It was. It was one of the funniest. It was one of the funniest conversations I've ever had. And he basically said, okay, so I know I said that there'd be nothing here for me after I die, and technically, I'm right. I'm just surrounded by this void. I said, okay. He says, but I do concede, John, that I was wrong.
I mean, but it's interesting because when you say that void, um, that void actually seems a little disconcerting, maybe. The
Yeah,
idea of a void,
yeah,
but when you realize that when you get there, that you're also devoid of human emotion, right? So fear is just not there.
right.
It
Yep.
just it doesn't live there. So
The ones I read and just the people that I've heard from are all say it just feels like just pure joy all the time. It's very, very
right. And I
beautiful.
still I still believe that you can go to Oz, and I think you can go to Atlantis, and I think you can go to Valhalla. I
Mm,
believe in those places, probably even North Pole. Um
cool.
I don't know, is that the kid in me that wants to believe that stuff? But I mean, I know I've been floating around in Glinda's bubble, so what the heck,
Oh,
right?
cool.
What if it can be whatever uh utopia, utopia without the danger of human muck getting in there and screwing it up,
Yep, yep, for
right?
sure, for
Like
sure.
that would be incredible. But it's really interesting. So back to coincidence, this morning, because I have a client every Wednesday, you know that, and
Mhm.
she's participating in the same expo that I am in a couple of weeks. That's here in town, and I wanted to do a card reading, and I pull the cards, and I'm like, what in the? I don't even like what is. I don't even understand what these cards are talking about. Like I just don't even know what they're talking about. And as I'm reading the cards, they're like, pay attention, like listen, like weird things.
Right.
And my head was getting so like foggy and cloudy, and I was like, what in the heck is going on here? And the cards pulled out the rune book because it referenced the rune, and the rune was like, and I'm like, none of this makes any sense.
Uh-huh.
And then all of a sudden I was like, okay, breathe in the energy of silver. In Dougal Fraser's world, silver, it clears the clutter,
Okay.
clears the space. Breathe in, and then all of a sudden I felt them. There were 6 of them. 6 guides new for her, standing 2 here, 2 here, and 2 in front in a
Ooh,
circle.
right.
And as soon as I made that realization and started working with them instead of against their energy, everything cleared up and went fine. It was the
Oh,
craziest thing.
wow.
So, I mean, it was just like, and so when I say there's no such thing as coincidence, if the cards are giving you crap,
Yep.
right? You need to sit and think about it for a second,
Mm-hmm.
clear your head.
Yep.
Like,
Yep.
what is going on? Maybe it's not got anything to do with the cards at all, but there's so many people out there that would have pulled those cards and said, I just can't be a reader or
Oh,
whatever. You know what
oh,
I
right,
mean?
right. They
Like, because
would
this is
doubt
making no
themselves.
sense.
Yep.
And I was just like, and I mean, like the first one, in fact, it might still be right here on the top. The question was, what do we need to know about the expo? An overview of how the expo is going to go, an action we need to take, and the challenge that's going to come our way, right? And the
Yep.
first card is this, the cat joker.
Okay.
The cat joker. What do we need to know about the expo? The time has come for action. You will receive all only by being prepared to give all. What does that even mean?
Yeah, like get ready.
Like, and then it's followed by the action you need to take. See the wonders around you and honor this incarnation.
Hmm.
And it was like just goofy. So then when I put, and then the one was, referenced the a rune, it was just all weird. So
Yeah.
then when I put them away and it just said, okay, fine, I give, there they were, all 6. And
Hmm.
then I introduced them to her and I gave them to her, got them out of
Nice.
my house. And now all of a sudden I could talk and think clearly and everything was all good.
Interesting. Cool.
You just never know what's going to happen,
Yeah,
like
for sure.
when you so the idea is there's no coincidences. You got to pay attention and you just can't make this stuff up. And then when I sent them over, I said, holy cow, what are you working on? What are you trying to figure out that you need all of this? And she went on and to say, oh, I'm doing this and this. I'm trying to do this and I want to put this together and do that. And I'm like, oh, well, here you go. Here's the crew,
Right. They're here for
but
you.
they can go live with you now because holy crap, between them and the 8 that sit around me,
Mhm.
well, it's actually 9 because there's one behind me too. Between them and those, that it was like
Too many, right?
I can't think.
Right.
And then I said, because I said, y'all are talking all at once. I can't handle it when you talk all at once. I can't handle it. So they all were quiet. I was like, well, I need one of you to talk. I mean, it was just, it's so interesting how if you exercise these muscles and do this work,
Hmm.
it's amazing how these things can really um, come forward for you.
Yeah.
I remember I used to watch Val doing the galleries because I used to host galleries for her,
Right.
like with my local clients. And I'd watch her, the things she would say to them. I'd be like, oh, that'd be really cool to be able to do that. I probably even could have done it at the time,
Hmm.
but I just didn't have the confidence.
Right.
So
Right.
it's that's what it's really about, right? Is figuring out what you can do, what you want to do, and then stepping back and letting the universe just give you the gifts, right?
Hmm. Hmm.
So
That reminds me of another coincidence that happened just this past weekend. I was in the grocery store, and kind of with my wife and kid, moving the cart around, and all of a sudden, this former client, pops in my head, and just the message, "Jackie's here." Like, and wouldn't you know, I turn, into another aisle,
And
and
there's
there
Jack.
is Jackie's husband right there.
Oh,
I'm like,
same thing.
yeah, right. But the message is Jackie. And it wasn't Jackie's here. The message just was Jackie. I'm like, now that is not a coincidence. That's a
Nope.
message.
For real. So you know what's going to happen? You're not going to have any fun watching competition shows after a while.
Because I'll know.
I
who's gonna
always
win.
know who's going to lose,
I know. That's funny.
but unless I just don't pay attention, like I can kind of turn that off.
Sure.
So,
yeah, of course.
I think maybe that would really be fun is to put together, a workshop or not I don't mean an expo. What do you call those things? Retreat, something like that where people could, like in real time work on that kind of stuff, like
yeah. Yeah, kind
but
of almost
but
a training for intuition.
yeah, but leave them Zener cards. I don't know wherever the heck they make them. Like I don't want nothing to do with them. I hate those things.
I do
Like I
too.
hate that one deck. I hate that one deck that never tells me yes about anything.
Angie, you nailed it. Angie, the reason we hate that deck is because it's got bad energy. Those Zener cards have bad energy. They're full of
They do. They
skeptical
must.
energy.
Right? They must. They must. Oh,
That
well.
explains it.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. Actually, you
Yeah.
know what? I think I might look into whoever created those things.
It was a psychologist,
Oh,
and I know they had good intentions, but how those tests are being run normally is by skeptical grad
yeah,
students.
that's true. Oh, yeah, right. Yeah, that'll put all kind of. Although I will say this, I will tell. I don't know if I told this story once before, but you remember I told you I have a friend who's a mind reader, Joe
Yeah.
Diamond.
Yep.
He's been on Penn and Teller Fool Us, but he's a marketing genius. He didn't really care that he didn't fool them. He was on TV. Like that was his whole goal was to
That's
get
the
on
point.
TV.
Yep.
But when I first met him, he had those Zener cards, but not for me to get messages from, but for him. So he would give you the cards and he would say, hold the thought of the card in your mind.
Right.
So, and what is it? Circle, square, triangle,
Triangles,
wavy
wavy
lines.
lines. Yep.
And I remember that the both of us actually knowing, now that I think about it, I always called the wavy lines bacon, right? Bacon.
Perfect.
So he said, take one of these symbols and hold it in your mind. And I thought, I'm going to get this guy. So I focused on two of them. And I had the circle with I think it was the circle. It might have been the triangle, but with the wavy lines above it. Like I put them together.
Yeah. Yep.
And he said something to me like, how he does that typical.
Right. Right. Of course.
Because
right.
he's a mind reader and he's a showman.
Exactly.
And he's like, I don't know, but I just feel like this triangle is covered in bacon. And I was like I thought I was going to get him. Like I really thought I was going to get him and I didn't. And I'm like, there's just no way, because there's no I mean, unless he picked up enough from me psychologically speaking to think that I would do such a thing.
Even then, you could have had square and circle, right?
Right. I mean, it was just, so even those who are show people, and I'm sure a lot of his magic is the psychological, the tricks that you'll never learn because, they learn them behind closed doors and I'll sign the magician NDA or whatever.
Yeah.
He will tell you, and he's got exercises and things on his website. He has been working on his intuition for years, since he was like 13, 14 years old. And so I think anybody can do it.
Oh,
I think
I agree 100%.
anybody can do it. You just have to practice.
Right. It's a muscle.
Yeah, it is. And you have to that was where neutral state came from.
Ah,
Because everybody was always saying, "Well, how do I know I'm just not assuming?" So when I do any kind of intuitive work, that's the first thing, neutral state, free from assumption, judgment, self-doubt, and fear. Like, and that gives you a clear pathway to intuition. Well, this
cool.
was a heck of a conversation.
I
Like this,
know. I know. This is
it went in all kind of crazy directions, but
but it's
that's okay.
awesome. Great stuff.
So, um, before we go, is that birds? Do you hear
Yeah.
birds?
Yes. I've got a screaming blue jay that just flew by.
Oh, okay. We have clouds and it's kind of nasty out. So I'm thinking, I know we talked about it a little bit, but we just give the listeners an idea. We are planning on doing the fool's journey or the dreamer's journey. It's going to be the fool's journey because we're going to go along with, the traditional.
Yep.
But it's looking like that's going to happen sometime in May, I think,
Yeah.
right? Like
It sounds about right.
so we're going to start working on some ideas, ways to plan it out so that you can be prepared for when we start to talk about it. And we just really appreciate you, like hanging out in our conversations. And
Yes.
here's the truth. John and I really love to talk to other people. So if you are of a mind to and you've listened this far, drop a comment. You can find, I mean, both of us are extremely
We're
easy
easy
to
to
find
find.
on Facebook. Shoot us a message and just tell us you'd like to come on because we'd love to have you.
Yep.
And you never know who we're going to talk. And then also keep in mind, sometime in the second quarter, we're going to be posting invites for a roundtable
Yes.
discussion. And
Yes.
we're gonna that's gonna be there'll be what is it, 8 slots, right?
Yeah. Yep.
Eight.
And
I
we'll
think we I
chat.
think we can have 10 and minus the two of us. So I think
Right.
8 slots. So there will be 8 slots available to participate in the roundtable discussion. And you can bring yourself and a topic you might like to talk about, and we'll just all kind of go at it. We're hoping to have Val and Lisa and Melanie and
Yep.
you know,
Katie.
yeah, right? Like
Yep.
it'll be great.
Yeah.
So anyway, all right. Well, thank you so much. Hit the subscribe button, hit the like button, and if you really like us, share us because
Tell
we'd
your
like
mom.
that too. And we'll talk to you later.